Hi everyone, welcome to another video. So I actually was going to film something else, but literally right as I sat on my chair my mail came in, and this is going to be my Sephora order. Now they did kind of split my order into two packages. I'm not so sure why, but they did. So I'm going to sit down and use some of these. I'm not going to use all of them because I don't want to put too many new products on my face. I really want to test out this new sunscreen I got from SHISEIDO and also the Saie Loose Powder. So because of that, I'm just going to use a foundation I like, and we'll use the Givenchy foundation some other time. So I finally took the plunge. I'm trying a SHISEIDO sunscreen. I am so tired of not finding sunscreens I like. I initially had the Laneige one, but then some people in the review said the fragrance was just overpowering and it reminded them of like a Western sunscreen instead of a Korean sunscreen, as if Laneige was trying to like appeal to the Western market, which Korean sunscreens are superior in texture to Western sunscreens, so I don't know why they would do that, but I decided it wasn't worth that risk, so I decided to try SHISEIDO because I know a lot of people do really like their sunscreens. So I was like, you know, why not? I'll try this. It even says fresh moisture hyaluronic acid, which definitely has a lot of promise for me. So I'm eager to try it and see if it helps at all. It feels very lotiony. It smells like a typical sunscreen, like it has that typical sunscreen scent. I'm sure you guys know the scent I'm talking about. And I'm just gonna rub it in. It does feel super hydrating. Yeah, it definitely leaves my skin really glowy feeling. It feels really nice so far, so I definitely like it for that. So going on, it doesn't dry out my skin at all, which is like what sunscreens, a lot of sunscreens will do that. They go on nicely, but then they dry down to this kind of powdery finish and it dries out my skin. But this isn't doing that. It still just feels really nice. I could see it being too heavy for some people, but if you're like bone dry like me, then it feels really nice. The best sunscreen is the one you'll wear. So I'm going to use the Pat McGrath primer on my little T-zone and nose area now. And this will just be for the pore coverage and for kind of the long wear. Okay, and then I'm going to use my JACLYN under eye primer under my eyes. I don't want to take sunscreen too far to my eye area because of the fact that I don't want to like cause eye irritation. Okay, and then I'm going to use the Givenchy Prism Libre Skin Caring Glow Foundation. This is not the matte one, this is the glow one. And I'm going to use this, and I've already used it enough times that I have a pretty good idea of how this sits on my skin. So if any of the other products are kind of funny on top of it, I'll know that it was not because of the foundation. First time I used this, I put on too much because it is a little bit light for my skin. So this time I used about 3/4 of a pump total, and I'm just going to use that much, and if I need any more I can just add like a little bit more. My skin is not in the best condition today. I do have some budding breakouts and some bumps, but alright. The weather's been like fluctuating very rapidly, and that can definitely, my skin is very sensitive to that. When the weather alternates between really cold and really hot, it's not uncommon for my skin to just kind of freak out and become very red. But as you can see, this foundation has a really nice medium coverage that really helps to cover all of that up and leave my skin looking really nice. And by using less, I can brighten up the center of my face without really looking like I'm, you know, a floating head. Okay, so that's all the coverage I think I need, honestly. Really, I didn't use very much at all. Okay, and then on top of that, I'm going to bronze my skin up a little bit with the Charlotte Tilbury contour wand. Been using this and like only this lately. You really don't need very much, but at the same time, if you put on too much, it does blend out very easily. So if you go a little crazy, don't worry, you'll be fine. And my preferred method is with a brush like this, and I just kind of start stippling it. And if I put on a little bit too much, I can kind of dab it off with my fingers. Just definitely make sure that you screw this between on and off when you're not using it, because you definitely don't want to accidentally make a mess for yourself. And that's gonna be the bronzer added on. This really is just one of the best formulas I've ever used. Let me use my concealer before I go in with powder. Skipped an entire step. Oopsie oopsie. I'm trying to film more during the day as opposed to in the evening because the daylight really helps with like illuminating my skin texture and just makes everything show up better. You know, I procrastinate and then by the time I'm ready to film it's like 9 and I'm just like, oops. Okay, so my face is looking mighty glowy thanks to that sunscreen, so I definitely think I'm really liking how the sunscreen is performing so far, but I'm still wanting to find one that's a little bit lighter in texture for the summer. So I have some from Beauty Box Korea I've been thinking of, but let me go ahead and try out the Saie Saie translucent setting powder. It has that twist top where you want to twist it open. I can't necessarily say I'm the biggest fan of it because if it's too hard to turn, then, you know, you break a nail trying to turn it. I'm probably gonna leave it open just because I'm horribly lazy. Just washed this Lunar Beauty brush. It's the dual-ended one, and I'm gonna use this, so I just put some in the cap. I can see in the cap that it has a bit of shine to it, so we'll see how this looks. Buff it in gently. So it definitely is mattifying my skin. You can see the comparison between these two sides. Okay, so this is my face set with the Saie translucent setting powder. I know Saie is like a clean brand, so we'll see how long this powder lasts before it goes off on me, which is why I haven't gotten the Kosas one yet, because I just don't want a powder to expire on me in 3 months. But this is what it looks like with the powder on. As you can see that I'm not completely mattified. However, I noticed in the cap that the powder has a little bit of sheen to it, so the inside of my cap looks sparkly now. And I'm pretty sure it's because the powder it's not a matte powder, so this gives me the glow back just by the powder having a little bit of that sparkle shimmery in it. So if you're not a fan of that kind of powder, you're not gonna like this. It did set my skin. It didn't create dry patches. It looks okay under my eyes, and overall it looks really nice. Now this I don't think is gonna be a really good powder for a humid summer because I don't feel as if my foundation is fully set down by this powder, but I do definitely look forward to using this powder in the fall and winter is when I think it'll suit me the best, so as long as it's not expired by then. This reminds me for sure of the JACLYN Mood Light Setting Powder. I would say that's what it reminds me of, so I feel like during the summer I would use this as like a finishing powder as opposed to a setting powder. You can really see under my eye here, I don't know if it catches on camera, but you can see 2 glitter specks, and that's from the powder. I'm not bothered either way. The finish on my skin is really pretty. Interesting little powder. So if you are looking for something like the JACLYN Mood Light and you don't want the JACLYN Mood Light, you might actually really enjoy this powder over here. I feel like the Mood Light powder sets my makeup a little bit more though. So I still think I prefer Mood Light over this, but this is still really pretty. It's a very unusual combination of matte and glowy, which makes it actually, I think, a pretty unique powder. So I am going to skip the eye primer today because the other thing that I'm going to be using in this video is the Patrick Ta Rose palette. So I'm going to do my brows. And I'm just going to use the Morphe Micro Brow Pencil. I'm just going to probably zoom through this pretty quickly in editing. Actually, no, I'm just going to do my brows off camera today because I really want to be able to spend more time working with these eyeshadows, so I'll be right back. Okay, so I zoomed us a little bit in closer. I don't know why I'm talking like that. I'm talking like a YouTuber. So this is the Rose palette. I've seen swatches from Lauren May Beauty already, and her swatches are always so clear, and it definitely has made me only even more excited for this palette. So I'm going to be working with the creams mostly, and then I'm going to really want to play around a ton with these shimmers. And then I might use some of the mattes just to blend everything out. But I'm so excited. You guys don't even understand. I literally couldn't be more excited because one of the shades is like a rose to gold, but in the most unique way I've ever seen. So like, I'm gonna use a Sigma brush to work with the creams. I really like using my Sigma denser brushes. So there's 2 creams, and one of them already has cat hair in it, even though I just opened this. Like, I opened it and there was a cat hair already inside. And I'm just gonna see what happens. I don't really have any particular look in mind. I just want to fuss around with these, and I've heard the creams are excellent quality, so I'm excited. I'm just gonna run with it. And I feel like these creams will be really great for me to use as an eyeshadow base too, because it feels really moisturizing and hydrating to put a cream on my eye like this. And yeah, you can see in real time blending it out how little effort that just took me. Yep, these feel really hydrating and they're kind of shiny going on, so it's not like a cream to powder at all. So definitely the perfect consistency of cream for me, and they are proving to be brain dead easy to use. Okay, and that's it. That's literally all I did, and look at how the result looks. I'm definitely amazed at how easy this was to use. I was expecting it to be harder. And now I'm going to take the lighter colored cream, and that's going to go on my lower lash line. Okay, wow, that was too easy. So I'm just gonna repeat this on the other eye really quickly. This is the kind of formula that I don't really want as my cream blush, but as a cream shadow for dry eyelids, this is absolutely perfect. So this is going on top of what is essentially a bare lid, and it just goes on so well. I really cannot believe how much cat hair has already gotten onto these creams, and I've just opened it. And I don't need very much of it either because these are definitely very saturated. These definitely are much more hydrating feeling than the Auric ones. This makes me really want his other palette now, just the creams alone. I wonder how quickly they're gonna dry out though. That'll be an interesting thing to see as I have this in my collection, is when are these gonna dry out. And then I'm gonna just use my finger to dab around the edges because these seem like you can manipulate them with a finger too. And then I'm going to take it on my lower lash line like I did on the other eye. Wow. Okay, that was just so easy. Like, that was too easy to use. I'm like kind of in shock. This is my first time ever having a Patrick Ta palette. I did really want his first one, but the money just never really materialized. The chance never came, so that's why I still don't have it. And as of right now, it is actually sold out, so probably not going to be something I'll have in my collection for a while, but as soon as I get the chance, I definitely will prioritize getting my hands on that because just these creams alone are, wow, I'm amazed. I'm gonna go in with shimmer first. So I swatched 3 of them on my fingers and I really wanted to try this one, this Unusual, but you can see how all 3 of them, as I bend my finger, have just beautiful shifts, and in the pan they feel so creamy. Let me just make sure I'm in focus. So that's on the back of my hand. They have that really glittery feel to them, so as opposed to being a smooth foiled metallic, they have a super glittery finish. Love those kinds of finishes. Definitely reminds me of Asian shadows. The only reason I don't have more Korean eyeshadow palettes is because I generally don't use their mattes, because the palettes always are like half mattes that don't even show up on my skin tone, so I don't bother, but yeah. Alright, so I'm gonna go in with this shade here. This is the one I'm most excited for. And I'm gonna use my finger to apply it to the center of my eyelid. And it sticks onto those creams really well. This is the pink and gold. This is like one variation of the pink to gold duochrome that I've been wanting. The other one I think is in the upcoming Cleona Dragon Fruit collection, which I'm totally gonna try and get my hands on. I have heard of people saying that their Patrick Ta palette, the first one, had issues with hard pan, so I will definitely have to keep an eye on how this palette operates after I stuck my grubby little fingers in it. I went a little crazy, it like kind of got everywhere, but that's okay. I'm gonna use the mattes to fix that later. Okay, so I'm now going to take the color here, and I'm gonna use this to start kind of working on blending out those shimmers. It's a similar shade to the cream that I just laid down, so. And I'm also gonna let this set the cream. The mattes are actually really not that rosy. It's mostly the shimmers which are. The mattes are actually just kind of a more red undertone of brown. I think that's quite nice actually, since, you know, pink eyeshadow is pink eyeshadow, but this should appeal to a lot more people. Palette still is definitely very monochromatic though, so you're not gonna necessarily get a ton of varying looks out of this. So if you like the note, then you're gonna love this, but if you don't like the note, then you should, you know, skip it of course. And I'm just patting it on and then gently blending it. And no issues so far. I'm gonna go in with a lighter colored matte though, and I'll blend it out for sure. I'm gonna take a very tiny blending brush and I'm going to use the lightest shade, so that one right here. And I'm gonna use this to tidy up the outside edge of this eye because this eye is a little bit out of control. Okay, that did kind of add a little bit of rosiness to my upper portion of my eyelid, so I am going to repeat it on the other eye just for the symmetry. So now the eyes are looking a little bit less chaotic, and I'm going to take my dense brush I used for the creams and I'm going to use a brush on these shimmers. It doesn't pick up as well on a dry brush from what I'm seeing, but I just want to use this to kind of tidy up the eyelid, make sure it's nice and intense. Really having to dig my brush in though. These are definitely like finger shimmers for sure. That is looking amazing. So I'm gonna use a small teeny weeny brush and I want to take the lighter shade here with this shade. I'm gonna put that on my lower lash line. With a very pointed dense brush, you actually definitely want to be careful how much you pick up because I just picked up a lot. And I'm using a MAC 211. This is like my favorite brush to use for putting shimmers on the lower lash line. I don't know if you can get this brush anymore though. Yeah, these are pretty soft pressed, so they feel a little bit loose when you dig in with your brush. So I could see it benefiting from a glitter glue if you wanted to go that route. Okay, so gosh, this is so pretty. I'm going to take the gold here I wonder if that's gonna work over top, like is it lighter? I really want to try his eyeliners someday. I hope he comes out with some more middle toned browns in the future. I want to try them in the waterline for sure. Alright, and then I'm gonna take a Rephr 03, my favoriteest inner corner brush ever, and I'm going to take that same gold shade on my inner corner. And I don't want to put on too much because I don't want it to be so bright that it overtakes everything. The 03 bristles have a lot more give to them, so they're not going to really be able to pull up as much of the shimmer as the MAC brush was, because those bristles are more stiff. So this is picking up less, leading to a sparklier appearance when I lay it down, which is what I wanted for the inner corner. And I'm just going to use this to kind of add a little bit of structure to the upper part of my look. I've been really liking doing this, where I just take a highlight and I run it across the top of the eyeshadow. I don't know why, but it just makes everything look more put together. It definitely kind of gives cut crease vibes, but like not really. And then I do actually, before I forget, I do need to take a deeper matte on the outer corner right here. I want to take a deeper one. So I am going to take that shade I used earlier, this one, and I'm just going to take that on the outer corner just to make sure I have that depth back. So that's going to be the eye look completed. Okay, and I'm going to put on some lashes. Again, I'm just going to pop off camera and do that because I just am trying to conserve the length of this video, and I'll be right back. Okay, so that is going to be the lashes on. I also did put on some little bit of brown wing liner just to add some definition. And then I also put the brown liner on my inner corners of my eyes, something that I do pretty frequently. The lashes I'm wearing is Doe Morning Dew in 1.0, so that's why my eyes are a little bit more open than normal, because the band on these is firmer. This is also a new band, and it does take me some time to kind of wear into them. That's gonna be those eyes complete. Now, my lashes kind of popped off my inner corner a little bit, but I don't feel like fixing them, so if you notice it, just... Alright, so I also got I wanted to complete my Patrick Ta powder blush collection, but the money just is not here, so I ended up just getting one shade, which is the one I wanted the most out of all of them, and it's going to be She's Passionate. It's a pink, so I think this will work really well with today's look, so that's what I'm going to use. So I'm just going to use this Rephr brush. It's 05. It reminds me of a Sonia G cheek brush. It really feels pretty similar, and for 40% off it's a lot cheaper, so I like this brush a lot. Now, Patrick Ta's blush formula is harder pressed and the color is much more buildable, so I know a lot of people are like, oh, I just feel like it's not worth the price because you could get a drugstore blush and it performs the same. I've never really found drugstore blush to look good on me. Most of the colors you can find from like the drugstore, like Maybelline, L'Oreal, etc., they're just not colors that I like, versus this Patrick Ta line, the blushes are so much better, because like I know some people were saying this reminded them of the blushes from Essence. Well, I looked at the colors Essence has available and all of them would look I just don't like them, versus this kind of vibrant pink color looks so much better on me, I think. So I personally really like the formula. I feel like it's so hard to put on too much, so it ends up being a really difficult formula to like mess up, so that's why I really like it. It is an expensive blush though, so obviously if it's not worth it to you, please don't get it. Some of his blushes have like a very slight glow to them, but overall they are very natural matte, so really nice finish. But yeah, the only other shade I have is She's Seductive, which is a lot more brown. I'm still not sure what got into me to buy that shade back when I got it all those years ago, but evidently I used to use it a lot because I wore the P completely down. And these are really hard pressed, so that's an accomplishment. So I must have really liked it back when I used it a lot. But yeah, I'm just putting this blush on where I usually put blush, and you can see I'm really able to layer it up without much consequence. I can just build it and build it and build it to whatever I want. And I do want to continue to build up my collection of these shades. He never expanded it, so I feel like he might have just abandoned the whole monochrome moment collection thing. I don't know if he's ever going to revisit it, and I am worried that he's actually going to maybe discontinue it one day, so hopefully when the fall sale comes around I can still go ahead and pick up the rest of these. But yeah, that's going to be She's Passionate, and you can see with the pan, when you rub your brush into it, you really get no kick up. So that's the other thing that's nice about these. It really is just such an easy formula for me to use, and it's really pretty. Okay, I didn't get a new highlighter from the Sephora sale because I had a clown moment and felt like I needed to. I FOMO'd myself. So what I do, let me find it. I do want to show off again. I have another video where I use this, but I do want to again show it off, is the Pillow Talk highlighter from Charlotte Tilbury. But I'm gonna use this. So in the other video, I think I stuck to the up here, but I really want to try this shade today. So I'm gonna use this pinky one, and I'm gonna use that across the blush as a blush topper. Ooh, that's really pretty. I actually really like this highlighter. Like I saw a lot of other people saying that they really liked it too. Like it's a hit from Charlotte Tilbury. So I'm really glad that the one time I impulse buy from Charlotte Tilbury, it's like actually a good product. Because I would have hated to impulse buy something else and been disappointed. I did not get the quad. I don't really see the appeal for quads. The only quad that I ever wanted was Fire Rose, which is just doesn't even exist anymore. So I didn't get the quads, not interested, but this highlighter was really pretty. So now I'm gonna use the inner part, and I'm gonna use that kind of just closer to the inner part of my face. And it's actually pretty shiny, so you really don't need much, but then it blends out really well. And I find it does a really good job of kind of not emphasizing my skin texture, so it's literally less than $10 more expensive than the M Cosmetics one, and it's like miles better. And then I'm just gonna use my finger, and I'm gonna tap into the white side, and I'm just gonna use that on my nose. This is the kind of highlighter I would bring traveling, because that way I have a blush topper and a nose highlighter in one highlight, because frequently the highlighter I use on my cheek and the highlighter I use on my nose is not the same highlighter. And then I do want to take a little bit more, and I'm just gonna take that onto my underbrow. And that's my face highlighted. I was debating between using this or using the Beauty Light one, but I just felt like using powder today. I'm gonna use BUXOM Confidential. It's pinkier, which I have a lot of pink on my face today. And now let me think about what I want to do for lips. I did not buy a new lipstick. I was going to get the YSL Candy Glaze, but my cart was just full. I'm sad. Alright, I'm going to use this shade. It's the YSL. It's the Slim Glow Matte Lipstick, and I'm going to use it in the shade 204. Looks like that. I swatched it on my hand. I think this should work. Yeah, it'll work. It's a little bit red, but... And then I'm just gonna use my finger to tap it out. So that way it doesn't look too terribly red, and then I'll just run over the inner part of my lips again with it. So that's kind of me creating like a gradient lip like I usually like to do. Alright, so my hair is already down, so that's gonna be the finished look. I think it turned out really well. The lip almost was a disaster, but it's just pink enough to qualify. So I'm going to take a finishing powder. This isn't really the Saie powder. It's not really a summer setting powder for me because I can already start feeling the humidity settle and make my skin a bit sticky. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my JACLYN Last Act Translucent Setting Powder, and I'm going to use this to finish my face. Now I must have dropped it at some point. I must have just dropped it and then put it back without realizing I had broken it, because the poor thing is in pieces. But it's still very usable, so I'm not getting rid of it, and I'm not gonna buy a new one. I'm just gonna use this. I'm just gonna use this to really kind of set my face. Make sure everything is in order. Yeah, I don't know what I did. I must have just dropped it at some point. I drop my makeup all the time, but because I film on a place with carpet, I usually don't think twice about it and I just put it back. But I must have dropped this one too many times and the poor thing just couldn't handle it anymore and it broke. But I'll just keep using it. I just can't ever travel with it and I have to store it horizontally. And then I'll just use my D'Alba setting spray. I'm just gonna use this to lock it in. And that's this look completed. I love how this turned out. The eyes mesmerized me. I definitely think I made really great shopping choices with what I ended up picking up. So I'm very excited. I didn't get anything that I immediately regret, which has happened to me in the past. I am going to try the matte foundation in another video, so you guys will see that very, very soon. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. I hope that the demo with the Patrick Ta eyeshadow palette helped you guys decide, or maybe the Charlotte Tilbury or whatever you've been eyeing. I hope you guys have had a lot of fun. Shop mindfully. I hope you guys, if you guys have bought anything from the sale, do go ahead and share with me your hauls in the comments if you'd like. And I hope you guys like everything that you got too. And so with that, I'll be signing off. See you in the next video.